Let me get my ring light. So if you're familiar with my content, you already know I love me some Ohuhu. They got paint markers now. So we're gonna go right into it now, right now. Also, I just wanna say, look at this packaging. Gosh, isn't that cute? You can't see it, you cannot see it. Okay. Pull the sleeve off. Hello. Isn't it awesome? They're swatch papers, they're swatch sheets, swatching sheets. I'm probably not gonna do this on camera, but I will swatch some and I'll show you. Editing Monty here. I just found these on the floor. Yeah, these are also included in there. Some replacement nibs and a nifty how to use pamphlet. How to use pamphlet with some helpful tips and tricks. Okay, that's all. Sometimes I worry about the advancement of AI in our society. Shit. Okay. Yeah, problem number one. Maybe I'm just not doing it good. Okay, caps do not stack. That will probably be a problem for me, but it's not a big problem, it's just, I feel like I'm gonna lose one of them. Big thanks to Ohuhu for still, working with me, despite my sense of humor. Okay, here they are swatched. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a lot of like pilling. It could just be because of the paper that they use for the swatching. The colors seem to transfer pretty well. Outside of that, there's a few colors in the dark sheet that don't transfer as good. Like these, down here particularly, the neons. The brown did really, really good. So I apologize if there's any like background noise, like more than usual. I usually record my audios with my headphones because they have like a little microphone that's not the best, but you know, whatever. I don't know where my headphones are, guys, so we're just gonna have to deal with this. So I've had these succulents that I got a while ago, but they're still in their decorative pots, which means, you know, they don't have a drainage hole, and they're also kind of starting to outgrow their original decorative pots. So because they were growing so big, and because I noticed that there was water sitting in the bottom of the pot, which you don't want for succulents, I knew I needed a replacement. So I went out and I got this pot from the thrift store, and I knew I wanted this from the start, to paint a dragon on it, like a medieval style dragon. You know, the ones that only have the front legs and they're really weird looking? I love those guys. So that's what I decided to draw. That's where the inspiration comes from. And I also drew some mushrooms and dragonflies too, because I mean, how much more stereotypical can I get? Let's find out. I don't know. I just thought it was cute and nice and fun, and I thought it would go good with the plant theme that I had going on, you know. I imagine him as like a garden kind of dragon, you know, like a little garden dragon. How adorable would that be, guys? But let's talk about the markers themselves. Are they good? Do they suck? Will I tell you? Yes, I'll tell you. Of course I'll tell you. And I'll also tell you that I'm somewhere in the middle about these markers. I have some pros, which I'm gonna list first because positivity first, always. But I also have some cons, and I will be honest about my cons, even though I do love Ohuhu very much. I honestly had a lot of fun using these markers. I thought that the colors went on pretty smooth, especially considering I was drawing on a pot and not like paper. I'm sure they'd go on even smoother on paper. Some sections I went over and I recolored in just to make it a little bit smoother, but honestly, for the most part, I think it would have even just been fine with one layer, because towards the end I kind of got lazy and did start doing one layer, and as it dried, I feel like it dried very smooth, and that shine, oh my gosh, look at that shine. I used the metallic. There's a lot of metallic shades in here, which I thought was very interesting, because I think, like, you know, a lot of other acrylic markers, they do have the metallic sets, but I feel like that's usually like its own separate thing. Like, they don't usually like include that in with the non-metallic colors. So I thought that was very interesting, and I'm not usually a big fan of metallics. I just don't use them a lot because I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, they seem like something I would like, I just don't usually. But I had a lot of fun using this green in particular. Like, look at that shine. That shine is killer. It's so killer. When it comes to metallic shades, I'm usually a little skeptical. I think that's a big reason why I don't use them a lot, because like sometimes with paint markers or just, you know, art supplies in general, it'll say like metallic and you're like, ooh, I'm excited to do this, and then you like color with it and it's like pearlescent at best. Like, yeah, I can kind of see it, but it's not metallic. Nah, guys. This shit's shiny. You see how shiny this is? It's like blinding with my ring light, actually, but I really, really love it. I think that it's one of the few paint markers that has like metallic shades that I actually will probably enjoy using. No shade to any other marker brands, I don't think they quite reach the level of reflectiveness as this one does. Like, you could probably cause a car accident with this, right? I also really like that it's like double-sided. Like, you have the fat bullet nib, and then you also have the skinny like fine liner nib. I thought that was really fun, and I really enjoyed using the fine liner. I thought that it was really fun to draw with, and since I've recorded this video, I have used these in my sketchbook to do like little doodles and stuff. You know, what I use paint markers for in my sketchbook, and I didn't have any problems. The paper doesn't pill that much from what I can tell. Of course, I haven't like used them super heavy on any paper, and I was going to for this video, but this pot took forever, and I felt like it was still a pretty good representation of the markers because, you know, you can use them on anything. Just like any other paint marker, you can use them on anything. But let's get into the cons really quick. Honestly, superficial stuff out of the way. I don't really like the way the paint markers like look or feel. The plastic they use kind of feels cheap, which there's no problem with that. I mean, they are a cheaper alternative to something like, say, Posca, but I don't know, I just feel like I would like them better if it was like a matte plastic, or just I don't know what it is. Something about the plastic they were made of, I just felt like if I sat on them, like they would break, you know? But again, that's really superficial. That's not actually a problem with the markers. I just wanted to get that out of the way, because that was kind of like my first impression of them, you know? Secondly, I think my biggest problem with these markers is the bullet nib. I talked about how I really, really like the fine tip, but the bullet nib, I just didn't like the way it was shaped. It was very bulky and a little too round, if that makes sense. Like, when you compare it to other acrylic markers, or at least when I compare it to other acrylic markers that I've used, their tips kind of taper. Not severely, not always severely, but, you know, they taper a little bit, and it gives you more of, like, precision in your strokes. With these, the bullet tip was just too round, and so I couldn't really get a good assessment of where the paint was going to be when I placed it, and I don't think that's a good design. So that's why I ended up using the tapered small tip for a good majority of this video, and honestly, a good majority of the time that I've used these markers, I've just been using the fine tip. It's just easier, and I get a more precise like stroke from it. Another thing I have an issue with, which I already kind of mentioned earlier, is just the fact that the caps don't like link to each other. So like when I take the cap off, I have to set it on my bed. I can't just like put it on the other side of the marker. That's very surface level though, and Ohuhu has like in the past like redesigned their markers. I think whenever I first started buying Ohuhu, if I'm not mistaken, the markers caps, they also didn't do that, and then they changed the design, and now they do. And lastly, the only other critique I have is just the set of colors. I felt like I would have rather personally had more shades instead of like metallic. Like, don't get me wrong, I was, as I mentioned earlier, pretty impressed by the metallic sheen, and I liked the way it turned out, and I'll probably use these more than other metallic paint markers that I've tried before, but at the same time, on average, I would more likely reach for a matte marker than I would a metallic marker for most of my drawings and most of my little doodles, just because that's what I prefer. So I thought it would have been nice to have had maybe more variation in shades and less metallic tones. So I'm kind of hoping in the future that they release some more shades, because like there were certain shades that had some good variation. Like there was about 3 different kinds of greens, not including the metallic, and if you do include the metallic, that would be bumped up to 4, maybe even 5 if you include the metallic cyan, which I don't. That's blue. But like for the red, there's only 1 red. There's not even like a metallic red. That would be pretty dope. If we are talking about metallics, that would be pretty dope, a metallic red. But just more warm shades in general, because that's generally what I kind of use. I use a lot of warm shades and also green, so that's kind of what I would like to see out of these markers. I think they have really good potential. My main problems are just the colors, and, you know, the nib, like I said. But they layer pretty good. As you can see, I didn't have any problems with layering. I liked, even though I'm not the biggest fan of metallics, I did like the pure sheen on these metallics, and I did like that they laid out smooth. They were pretty juicy. overall I give it a 7 out of 10, maybe 7.5 out of 10. I don't feel right giving it a 7 out of 10 because a lot of the problems I had were like more superficial and honestly might even be subject to change because I don't know, I feel like I'm optimistic. I like to think that brands listen to their customers, and in the past Ohuhu has changed their lesser useful designs to more useful designs. So I don't know, but that's my dragon pot. Decided to sign it off with Monty Jones. That's me, 2024. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching me paint this. And I honestly had a lot of fun. So thank you, Ohuhu, for once again working with me. I'm sorry I gave you a little bit more scathing of a review than usual, but I had to do what I had to do. Okay. I had to do what I had to do. But my pot turned out wonderfully, and I still overall just really enjoyed working with these. It was really fun. It's always fun to use brand new art supplies. So yeah, that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more, hit that like button and subscribe, and comment down below what you would like to see. Yeah. And here are my beautiful baby succulents. Look how good they're doing. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. They were like half this size when I first got them. And now they're in a proper pot, and that pot has a dragon on it. How cool is that? Thanks again, guys. Hope you have a great day. Hope you have a great night. Whatever. Bye-bye.